going to give me this when I first open it up. You can just click on this and make that stuff go away. And just have a blank canvas. Or you can also go up to layout and just choose blank.
Okay, thank you.
So that's going to give you that blank canvas to start with. And then you can just start pulling in your images like she did. And you can go insert picture. And if you have a folder of images that you have saved, an image in here that I like, that's a living room. And I think this kind of has that soft, maybe Scandinavian boho that I like. And go. Scandinavian. Try and maybe find a bedroom that goes with it. And then go to images and see what I get. Oh, I like this one. What I did was just, you can go to the image. I can right click it and copy it. Then come over to my board and paste it. Then if I grab the edges, I can make it bigger or smaller and start dropping it on my board. Now I might end up deciding this one looks a little dark. Be really careful when you resize your images that you're pulling evenly on the corner. If you're not sure, you can always hold down Control and it'll lock you into resizing it evenly. What you don't want to do is that. Or this, where it makes your image look messy or out of proportion. We want to preserve the proportions on our images. That's really important. That'll be one of the things that I'm grading you on, is making sure that your images keep their proportions true. We also want to make sure when we're gathering up images that we don't get extra little, how do I say it? Let's see. So a lot of times when you go to Pinterest, it's going to give you this little guy down here. So sometimes people, especially if you're working off your phone, it might be tempting to screenshot, to snip it. But you want to be careful not to capture any of these little extra marks. So you don't want to carry over their verbiage. You don't want to carry over, like if you like the site house, it tends to have stuff stuck on the pictures. We want to try and crop that stuff out. So one trick can be to, Pinterest will let you download the image. And then when you want to go put it on your board, you can go to your downloads and there your image will be. See, I actually like that bedroom better. I think it captures the lightness.
A little brighter.
Yeah, it's a little brighter. It's got some pattern in it, like I have pattern here. So now I'm sort of starting to get a motif. The brightness, I still have the plants and the wovens. I might be able to put a couple living rooms, a couple bedrooms. Maybe there's look for some different types of rooms. So maybe I might find maybe a kitchen. If you go to images, it'll give you just pictures. Now see, I have how it caught me this after. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get rid of that. I have a couple of options. I might decide that my layout looks okay if I put one over the other one and cover it up that way, or I might have to crop the image.
How to the
I might have to crop, or if you click on the picture and you go to format, crop will be one of your options.
like this change the shape, huh?
Yeah, so if I do crop, it lets me cut the top of the picture off. Now, when you're lining up your pictures, it can be nice to leave, if you're doing, this design, so we just discovered when I was looking at this picture that one of the things I liked about it that was really airy, right? It's very light and open. Got a lot of white space, right? I have a lot of white wall showing. So when I choose to lay my board out, that might lend itself to leaving a little white space open around the outside edge. And PowerPoint will help you, if you let it, line your pictures up so that space around the outside edge is even. That's a nice craftsmanship thing. Unevenness draws our eye. If you're doing a really edgy design, like you chose futuristic, a really unsettling look, then having uneven edges might support your design. But if you're doing something like this that's very even, I have these even beams, I've got lots of whiteness, stuff's really square and lined up, then if I line up my pictures, it kind of supports the feeling that's on my board. And if you're careful when you're moving and resizing, PowerPoint will help you do that. Now I do have a pretty layered look here, so I could also get away with layering my pictures a little bit if I wanted to. Just be really mindful when you do it. There's a difference between layered and messy. So you want to think about how layered is my space, then how layered do I want my layout to be? So I can look up some different types of rooms like living rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, and put those on my board. I might say this looks like a Scandinavian farmhouse because I've got those beams. So if you have an idea of what you think the outside of your personal style would look like, then you might come along. Man, see, these are looking too modern to me. I'm going to add that bohemian word because it looks like Google needs that. I need that little vintage touch to look more homey, like what I want it to look like. So I kind of like that front door. It's got my wood tone, it's got my lightness. So I might pop that on my board too. I kind of like that picture. And as I do it, that's how I can start evolving my board. It might be easier to pull all the pictures first and then start putting them here. So then you can just keep going to your folder of pictures and start adding them on. Pull the best. So like when I had those two bedrooms, I could go, oh, I like this bedroom better. Or actually, I like both those bedrooms and there's something restful about my image. I'm going to keep two bedrooms. Or if you wrote your client profile and you said, I really love to cook and entertain, maybe you have a couple different kitchens or a couple options for a kitchen. Be careful putting multiple pictures of the same room. Try to get different looks. So these 4 pictures aren't from the same house, but they're supporting the same style. Sometimes it can also be nice not to have all rooms. Because like once these get small, these really complicated rooms are hard to look at. So if I want to fit a smaller picture on here, maybe I just say, I like that fuzzy wool pink blanket that was on my thing here. I want to pull those colors. Or pink and pink and blue blanket stack and see, maybe I can find, ooh, just a textural image that I can make a little smaller, but that maybe supports my look. Now, I'm not sure that's quite it. The colors aren't quite there for me, but you can find some smaller images. Maybe it's a pottery vase. See, now those are bad. They've got some of my colors. Maybe I like those better than this one. There's not a lot going on in that picture, so it could be a little smaller. So if I was like, oh, I have these two pictures, I need something a little skinnier to go in the middle. I might pop that in. And just keep playing with it until you get that balance. If you use something that's got a really strong color, like I've got some strong blues over here, then I want to get some strong color over here. Try and think about balancing pictures. Some other layout things you can think about. This picture kind of edges over here, so that's why I like it on that side versus this one, but it's up to you. So that's sort of how we go about building a presentation. Don't forget to add a few words that describe what your style is. So if I'm doing this as being calling this Scandinavian Bohemian farmhouse, then I want to put those words on there. But when your words are also a graphic image on your board. So maybe I don't want to do it in the stock font in black. Maybe I want to make it kind of a deep tan that matches my wood tone. Or maybe I decide I want it to be, so I'm going to this A up here, which is my font color. And a trick, if you really want to coordinate with a specific color, grab this eyedropper. And now I can be that exact blue that's in this pillow and here, depending on what you want to accent. And then maybe find a font that looks a little bit more like a Scandinavian Bohemian farmhouse to you. Play around with it. Everything, or maybe you even do Scandinavian and Bohemian in a different one. And think about the mood of the letters, just like the mood of your board. So I want something that's really airy and clean. So maybe I pick a font that's a little bit lighter. Maybe I decide I want to stack my letters. And they can go anywhere on your board. They can go off to the side. They could go in the middle. They could go up top. And that's how you start building your board. So these are all things to think about. You don't have to have a white background. However, your background, if you change the color, becomes part of the board. So make sure the color you pick coordinates with the colors in your pictures and adds to your board. You can go to Design, Format Background. And then if it's a solid fill, you get that color thing again. If you wanted to say coordinate with this cream color, you could use the eyedropper. Or you can pick one of the stock colors. I suggest using the eyedropper and pulling a color that's already in the pictures. That way you know that it matches a little better. Just be careful. So like if I go, I'm in love with this shade of pink, suddenly my whole design is a lot pinker if I pick that. So if you decide to make the background of your slide a color, just make sure it's one that contributes to the design. And you'll notice how suddenly this pink and this pink are different. So maybe I wanted it to be a more orangey pink. Or suddenly I discover maybe pink's not the right color because I have a couple different ones going on and I want to keep them. If you want to go back to white, you can just go back. So the other thing she's going to show you on there is how to take out the background. So say I like that, but I don't want this sofa and I don't want the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Now I could decide in this one, I could keep the floor and I could just crop it. So what I'm doing is if I right click, I get my options here. And I can choose crop, or I can go format, crop. I could decide I just want to take out the sofa and the floor and keep the rest. But I might decide I really just want the planner. So that's when I click on it and I go to remove background. But you're going to see it's trying to take out more than I want to take. So if I mark the areas to keep, I can line over the stuff I want. Yeah, it'll grab a little bit of it as long as it's grabbing where it's pretty solid. It might look kind of ugly here. And then if I go, oh, I grabbed a little too much background there, I want to get rid of that. You have to kind of play with it. It works better with really solid backgrounds. But once you make it small, that little bit of background is not going to show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might have just a little planner to stick in somewhere. You don't have to do any pictures where you remove the background. That's just an option that's in there. If you want to see more on how to do that, she goes into that in detail on the video that's posted. But this is kind of what we want to think about when we're doing a board. So think about how you're going to arrange your pictures and how that supports your design.